Hello everyone, welcome to this generative AI learning course. I want to explain how we use generative AI and what we should be learning as part of the generative AI learning course. I want to give kind of a very little introduction in this video, saying that what we going to learn and how do we, going to say ourselves that you are a generative AI engineer, architect, or whatever the position is. So we start with very basic fundamentals. What we start from what is artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and how this generative AI has been evolved over the years, and what we are currently trying to achieve through generative AI. So all that we are going to discuss, and we will also do some kind of projects, hands-on projects on this generative AI technology. So I made a simple 10 pointer to explain what you will be learning in this course. So the very first we will kind of explain some theory why we need generative AI. What is generative AI is really making that to the industry. What is the maximum benefit people are getting out of this generative AI? All that very basic topics we will be using. Then I want to take it in a from fundamentals to the pro kind of pro kind of way, in the sense like you will be starting with a simple generative AI user. Then by end of this course, you will be not only just a simple generative AI engineer, but you will be understanding like an architect, a generative AI architect, how we will design a production grade AI systems, and how do we deploy and architect, how do we architect and deploy a generative AI application. So all that we will be learning by end of this course. Then we will be learning the fundamentals, so the AI fundamentals, ML fundamentals, deep learning, transformers, LLMs, and what is training, interference, and all the basics of this AI and LLM we will be learning as part of that. And then comes the prompt engineering, where we will be learning the topics like what are the prompts and how do we do a structured outputs, what is tool calling, reusable prompts, and how do we secure our prompts. All that with hands-on examples we'll be learning on the prompt engineering. So next comes the core of the generative AI, that is RAG and enterprise knowledge. So we store our AI data on some database called as vector databases. So we use vector databases regularly in generative AI applications. Of course, not only generative AI in AI applications. So what is an vector database? What is an embeddings? How do we use retrieval augment generation? All the topics we are going to learn. And then comes the most interesting topics, agents. How do we work with simple agent, single agent, multi-agent architecture? How do we design them? And what are the, you know, uh, some of the keywords there, like memory, planning, workflows, and all the topics we are going to, you know, uh, discuss. And also we design some of the sample AI agents and deploy them. And then we will be little more serious. Instead of just start building on local, we'll be building on production grade AI. In the sense, I want to kind of deploy these applications on the real world, like in the cloud, Azure, GCP, and AWS. So for each environment, we'll make one example and deploy there, and we'll see. And also we'll add some DevOps flavor. Here we call it as LLM ops, in the sense LLM operations. So there we will be understanding how do we monitor our model, our agents. How do we apply observability, the sense of CPU usage, memory usage, bytes per second, garbage collection, all that. How much resources our models are using. All the topics we will be going to discuss in full. And then we will be discussing about security, which is like a very important topic in today's generation, because we want to secure our applications, not only in both ways. One is in the AI way, in the sense we should secure our AI models, and also we should secure our applications that are interacting with the AI models, to make sure that the data is well secured. And also when we are authenticating at different stages on these applications, how do we do that? How do we pass that authentication, authorization, all that. topics we are going to discuss. Then, as I'm saying, there is a cloud part and AI architecture part. So where we will be designing our applications on the cloud. The target cloud could be AWS, Azure, or Azure or GCP. And how do we do how do we deploy our applications, AI or generative AI based applications, all that we are going to discuss. And hands-on projects, yeah, in the end, not only just the simple examples during the course. I want to take a complete a week or two to to run and to create, deploy and run multiple AI applications, particularly generative AI applications, so that you will be kind of in a very confident uh, way you can explain to in your interviews. And I also explain some of the interview questions and how do we explain your AI projects, particularly generative AI projects. So with that, I am closing this video and hope we will be starting our next video soon. Thank you everyone.